following the bilateral talks, Prime Minister Modi attended the Quad Summit in Wilmington, Delaware, which is President Biden's hometown. The sixth edition of the summit focused on regional security and the Quad's shared commitment to an open, free and inclusive Indo-Pacific. The summit there, in fact, holds added significance for India as it is set to host the next Quad Summit. The Quad Joint Declaration, "We will reform UN Security Council to make it more inclusive, democratic and accountable." The leaders there discussed ways to strengthen cooperation with the last summit held in Hiroshima, Japan in May 2023, where the Quad released the Quad leaders' vision statement outlining their commitment to sovereignty, territorial integrity and the peaceful resolution of disputes. "Our message is clear. Quad is here to stay," said Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he wrapped his address at the summit at US President Joe Biden's hometown. Have a listen.
मैं राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। यह एफोर्डेबल, एक्सेसिबल और क्वालिटी हेल्थ केयर के लिए हमारे साझे दृढ़ निश्चय को दर्शाता है। कोविड पैंडेमिक के दौरान हमने इंडो पैसिफिक के लिए क्वाड वैक्सीन इनिशिएटिव लिया था और मुझे खुशी है कि क्वाड में हमने सर्वाइकल कैंसर जैसे चैलेंज का मिलकर सामना करने का निर्णय लिया है। इन कैंसर केयर कोलैबोरेशन इज एसेंशियल फॉर क्योर। कैंसर का बर्डन कम करने के लिए प्रिवेंशन, स्क्रीनिंग, डायग्नोसिस और ट्रीटमेंट की इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच जरूरी है। भारत में मास स्केल पर बहुत ही कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव सर्वाइकल कैंसर स्क्रीनिंग प्रोग्राम चल रहा है। साथ ही भारत दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस स्कीम चला रहा है और सबको एफोर्डेबल कॉस्ट पर दवाइयां उपलब्ध कराने के लिए स्पेशल सेंटर्स भी बनाए गए हैं। भारत ने सर्वाइकल कैंसर के लिए अपनी वैक्सीन भी बनाई है और एआई की मदद से नए ट्रीटमेंट प्रोटोकॉल भी शुरू किए जा रहे हैं। एक्सेलेंसी, भारत अपना एक्सपीरियंस और एक्सपर्टाइज शेयर करने के लिए तैयार है।
In his opening remarks on Saturday, Prime Minister Modi had reiterated the grouping's stand of a free, open Indo-Pacific and said they supported a rules-based international order and respect for sovereignty, a veiled reference to China. Now, free, open, inclusive and prosperous Indo-Pacific is our priority. We are not against anyone. We all support a rules-based international order, respect for sovereignty, territorial integrity and peaceful resolution of all issues, Prime Minister said without naming any country. Have a listen.
Good evening, everyone. Prime Minister Albanese, Prime Minister Modi, and Prime Minister Kishida, and Governor John Carney, Senator Chris Coons, and Representative Lisa Blount-Rochester. All the scientists and doctors and advocates here tonight, what a fitting way to end the Quad Summit by launching another historic endeavor. When I was Vice President, Jill and I launched here in the States what we call the Cancer Moonshot. We committed to end cancer as we know it and reach 50% cure for cancers in a time frame that we announced. We had lost our son to glioblastoma in 2015, Bo, a graduate of this great institution. And like many mothers and fathers, quite frankly, we were ready to give up. but I wasn't going to run again. My son, Bo, knowing he was going to die shortly, pulled me aside, not a joke. I wrote about it, made me promise that I wouldn't walk away, that I'd stay involved, because he knew the impact if we stayed and made the case. I remember him saying to me, Dad, this is God's truth, Dad, I'm not afraid. I'm going to be okay. He knew he was about to die. But he said, you got to promise me you'll stay involved, because he knew the way he had talked about it, that it would give people hope, that those of us and many of you experienced it. I bet if I ask you to raise your hand, including the press, if anybody has lost a family member or has been diagnosed with cancer, it's the vast majority of you. And it seems to me there's nothing that families and or the person suffering from cancer needs more than hope. Hope. Hope that science will outrace the disease.
President Biden, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Kishida. The unifying principle of the Quad is that we can achieve more together than on our own. Our work on health is a powerful example of that. At the very first Quad Leaders Summit chaired by President Biden, the Quad agreed to work together to improve access to COVID vaccines. As a direct result, more than 400 million vaccine doses made their way into communities in the Indo-Pacific. That changed lives and it saved lives. That's what the Quad Cancer Moonshot Initiative is all about as well. This program builds on one of President Biden's signature policy initiatives, not just in his term as president, but throughout his time in public life. It's a reflection of the ambition and empathy, the vision and compassion that has defined President Biden's leadership. It's about understanding people's pain but doing something to help. This is personal for the President and for Dr. Biden. It is personal for all of us, because in our nations, as in every part of the world, cancer casts its shadow on the lives of our citizens and our loved ones. Australia is proud of the leading role that we've played preventing cervical cancer worldwide. The HPV vaccine was developed at the University of Queensland by Australian of the Year, Professor Ian Fraser. That vaccine, together with improvements in screening and treatment, means Australia is on track to be the first country in the world to eliminate cervical cancer.
Biden 大統領
Biden, Prime Minister Albanese, Prime Minister Modi, dear participants, it is my pleasure to attend the Quad Cancer Moonshot on the sidelines of the summit. Joe has worked passionately on measures against cancers over many years. I wish to express my heartfelt congratulations to you, Joe, on the fruition of your dedication in the form of the Quad Corporation, and I express my esteem for Joe's leadership. The Quad demonstrated strong solidarity in the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In the post-COVID era today, the response to health-related challenges that have receded due to the pandemic is even more important. Efforts to deal with regional health and security, including corporation cancers, is indeed a timely initiative. Regarding our support for measures against cancers in the Indo-Pacific region, Japan has offered support such as the deployment of equipment and technical cooperation, or support through international organizations and initiatives. We are also collaborating with research institutions working on cancers in the United States, Australia, and India.
The Quad nations, India, the United States, Japan and Australia on Saturday unanimously affirmed their support for reforming the United Nations Security Council through both permanent and non-permanent membership expansions during the Leaders' Summit. In the Wilmington Declaration, they highlighted the urgent need to enhance the UNSC's representatives' inclusivity, transparency, efficiency, effectiveness, democracy, and accountability. The leaders agreed that any expansion should ensure representation for Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean.